Hello and welcome in again to another edition of Musings from the Mountains. I am Keenan Cummings, managing editor for WVSports.com, who also produces this podcast. And I'm joined by my sidekick, Patrick Kotnik, who's a staff
Hey,
writer for the site. Going to go ahead and just introduce you. I think it flows better.
it does.
We got some things to get to. Some exciting news on the football front. While basketball, both men's and women's, are delayed, postponed right now with their voluntary workouts, football continues, and we've skipped to the next stage, Patrick. We're in the 8-hour week now. And what that means is players have, it's pretty self-explanatory, 8 hours a week to do required activities, kind of learn, do some film review. I think 2 hours a week is allowed to do film review, some conditioning, some strength stuff in the gym, that kind of stuff to gear up towards an eventual fall camp, which is set to begin August 7th, if everything stays on track. This is going to ramp up a lot more in 2 weeks. August or July 24th, they're going to shift to the 20-hour week, which pretty much means things are gearing up towards a potential season that we may or may not play. But right now, it gives people something to look forward to, and it's what we're holding on to. So West Virginia will start doing walkthroughs once that 20-hour period begins per week. And you'll have 2 weeks of that. You get 2 off days for that, and then you go into fall camp. Patrick, it's something, right? I mean, it's required work with the coaches. It's something.
It is something. I mean, if there's any good news right now, it's that West Virginia's football workouts are continuing right now. I mean, we're just kind of in a wait and see approach right now. You've seen other schools shut down their workouts due to rising COVID cases. You've also seen some schools test a lot of student athletes, and they haven't had too many positives, if any. So, it's like I said, it's a whole wait and see approach. They're continuing as if college football, they're going to have something this fall, but we'll see. They're already going to have one less opponent in Maryland with the Big Ten going with the just a conference only schedule, and we'll see when it comes to the other non-conference with Eastern Kentucky and Florida State, that opening game. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I wanted to dive into that too. West Virginia has lost an opponent, obviously. Maryland's off the schedule. That frees open that September 19th weekend. West Virginia also has that October 29th weekend open. So if, and it's a big if, I think we're assuming a lot here. If they do fill that, there's quite a few options now. A lot of Pac-12 teams that Pac-12 were playing, a lot of teams that the Big Ten were playing are now open. Texas A&M is probably the most marquee that I could see. There's Alabama as well, but that would have to match up, both of them scheduled on a bye week. But Texas A&M is the September 19th date, probably the most alluring matchup I was able to find. But a lot of regional probably games they could set up, teams Bowling Green, in the area that, you could get that set up if you need be. But once again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Right now it's more just discussing it for the fact of discussing it, because who knows what's going to happen. The ACC is going to meet, I think, at the end of this month, and West Virginia could lose another opponent in Florida State. I think it's safe to say, I don't want to say it, and I don't want people to hold me to it, but I don't get a good feeling that the ACC is going to play out of conference games. I think the Big 12 is a candidate for that. I think by the end of this, once the dust cloud settles, probably all the leagues are going to stay in conference, but crazier things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, it's definitely a fluid situation. I mean, we definitely want college football to be played in some capacity this fall. I mean, Keenan, you and I's jobs, depend on it. But like I said, right now it's just wait and see what happens. That's all we can really do right now.
Yeah, it is interesting to go through, though. I have an article coming up on the site today. That's WVSports.com if you want to check it out, looking through a lot of the opponents that West Virginia could play. So hypothetical, it's interesting to look at that, but we'll have to see what happens, because West Virginia could be dealing with a 10-game schedule, a 9-game schedule, an 11-game schedule, but we know they will not play 12 games unless they at least find an opponent. So right now, West Virginia's 11, but even at that, they might not have to find one, because they're already operating one ahead of what the Big 12 is reportedly supposed to do. They're supposed to be playing a 10-game schedule. So we'll see how uniform different college conferences can get this. because we're dealing with uncharted waters, and it's getting a little choppy. 2 weeks ago, I would have said there's absolutely no chance that football isn't played. Now, we'll see. On the recruiting front, West Virginia got some big news, and it's some big news a lot of us have been waiting on for a while, I'd say. Nijel McGriff, the crime dog, is on board with West Virginia. A defensive lineman from Jacksonville, Florida, plays his junior college ball in Mississippi. Second time in as many years that West Virginia has landed a defensive lineman from Northwest Mississippi. Last year it was Quay Mays, and this year it's McGriff. McGriff is a little bit more versatile than Mays. Mays is more of a nose guard type. McGriff can line up on the outside, play inside at 3-tech, do a lot of different things. West Virginia really, really prioritized him. You know, he was a guy that got an offer in March, which if you follow junior college recruiting, that is a little unique. You know, West Virginia treats it a little bit different than most schools. They don't necessarily wait for, openings to come, holes to fill. They target guys they really like. McGriff was one of those. The interesting thing here is he's a December graduate, and now junior colleges have decided that they will not be playing till the spring. Kind of the first domino, I guess, in a wide-scale look at what could happen to college football. But he is not going to play to the spring. So what that means is originally West Virginia expected when he graduated in December, he was going to be a 3-to-play-2 guy because he would have spent 2 seasons playing at the junior college level. Now he will be a 3-for-3 guy if he graduates in December, which class-wise, that can get a little bit complicated because you usually target junior college guys to balance out the classes. But if you like the guy already as a 3-for-2 that early, you're probably really going to like him as a 3-for-3. And it gives you a lot more to experiment to. You don't have to waste a year if he's not ready. Playing him in 4 games, you can play him as many as you want, and you get 3 full seasons out of him. So I think for West Virginia, it's a win-win. And now they have 4, count them 4, defensive linemen in this class, and we aren't even to fall camp yet. How about that?
There you go. I think regardless, I mean, it's an important get just because when you look at the defensive line numbers, this is if we're assuming that Joseph Bulpatelli, the NC State transfer, is going to be on scholarship. That means as of now, they would have 11 scholarship defensive linemen. Over the next 2 years, they're going to lose 5 defensive linemen. I mean, that's almost half of the guys, and this is assuming that Bulpatelli is going to be on scholarship. It's almost half of the guys that they currently have on scholarship right now. And those 5 guys that they would lose, that includes, both, Dante and Darius Stills, 2 very, great players for West Virginia right now. McGriff, I think he's, big and strong. He definitely shut off blockers. He has a quick first step, really explosives off the line. I think he does have a tendency to stand up at times, but I mean, he's very disruptive. I would say the number one thing that stands out when watching his tape is his pursuit, is that motor, that hustle that he has. I mean, he made a lot of plays tracking down the ball carriers from behind down the field. So that's definitely going to fit well with what Jordan Leslie wants to do with West Virginia's defensive line. We've talked about, under the old coaching regime, that defensive linemen were used mostly to plug up gaps, and for the linebackers and DBs to make plays. Jordan Leslie, he wants his defensive linemen more versatile, more, guys that could, hustle around and pursue and do a lot of things. So, I mean, McGriff's definitely going to fit in with what Leslie wants to do.
West Virginia with 13 commitments now. We are at the midway point of July, which is a pretty good number. If you look at that, West Virginia has the full allotment of 25. If they decide to blue shirt some guys, which I think is inevitably going to happen when you take multiple transfers and only have 2 scholarships, they're probably looking at adding anywhere to 9 to 10 more players to this class. A lot of those are going to be on offense. You're going to get some linebackers, safeties, a couple corners, but then some focus on offense. So I think that, they got to get some more offensive linemen. You want to get another running back, some couple, probably 2 wide receivers. So you got some work to do, but you got to feel good if you're West Virginia. I think things are starting to come together. They're landing. Once again, it is never a bad thing. If you're landing guys that you were talking about in January and March, that's always a good thing because you're getting guys you wanted. I mean, that's what recruiting's about, finding the guys you identified you wanted, and that is what these coaches are doing. Thank you for tuning in again. Had a fun time. We're going to try to get back regularly more doing this. It's been kind of a little bit of a slow news period, some things trickling in, but it does seem like things are heating up. Big 12 Media Days coming up as well. We'll have a full report from that, and we'll see you soon. Thanks again for tuning in to another edition of Musings from the Mountains.